Hey guys, the red light is on and we're live on this very unusual Tuesday afternoon where I have no Dave. So I've replaced him with slightly better looking co-host, my husband, Grant Dawson. It's going to be fun. We're just going to do an hour, guys. We're going to preview UFC Vegas 107. We are going to peel back some headlines that have been happening recently this week and last week, since there were no fights last weekend. It might get a little weird, but it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. Definitely, I threw a couple stories up. I said, ask me anything on the Facebook, the Instagram, and also my personal Instagram. So if you haven't seen that, go on there, ask a question in the comments. We will be engaging with you guys a lot today as we have no guests. So it's just me and Grant and you guys. So how you doing today?
I'm good. Ready to get this going. Fun card. Definitely an interesting card this weekend. And I guess for me, the cards always look better when we're coming off of an off week. When we don't have a UFC on a Saturday, I get very upset and very lonely when it comes to no UFC.
You get lonely?
I get lonely. No UFC events. But yeah, there's some really fun fights. People I know on the card, 55ers on the card that I'm looking forward to. And I'm finally excited about a women's main event. So that's new. Should be a good card. Actually, let's see. What's next week's card? Next week's card's pretty banger too, though.
Yeah, well, next week's UFC 316, right?
Yeah. Merab and Sean, Pena and Kayla, Gastelum versus Pfeiffer. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
I'm really looking forward to that fight. I was super bummed that didn't happen in Mexico City,
right.
And honestly, I kind of like Joe Pfeiffer taking this fight not in Mexico City. I know Mexico can play a really it sucks to fight there for a lot of fighters. A lot of people get sick. A lot of people's cardio just looks rough. I think Gastelum is a great notch for Pfeiffer to add to his belt, and I think it not being in Mexico City is even better for him personally.
But. Yeah. There's a reason why all of the biggest cards, or at least most of the biggest cards, are done in Vegas. Is because Vegas is the best place to fight. The time zone there is the best. The weather there is the best. Vegas is honestly the best place to fight. But my favorite thing about that card that I think nobody's really talking about, because it is such a good card, is that we get to see the UFC debut of Patchy Mix. That is huge for me. I've been saying that Patchy Mix is one of the best guys outside the UFC for a very, very long time. And I am super excited to see him in the UFC. And he actually is now the favorite. He was the underdog when he got signed. And it kind of looks like a lot of people were betting on him, because he's now swelled to a -170 favorite.
As he should be.
No, I agree.
I was really surprised to see him open as such a big dog. And it's not that Mario Bautista is not a super talented fighter, but I feel like this is a good matchup for Patchy.
Right. Right. And it's not like, excuse me, it's not like he's making his UFC debut. There's making a UFC debut, and then there's, I fought in the second best organization in the world for years. Was the champion. Fought all the best guys outside the UFC. So he's not like, oh, is this guy going to be good? Like, he's not a prospect. He's a contender. He gets one win over Mario Bautista, and he could be looking at a title shot. He's a contender right off the couch. So this isn't one of those scenarios. We could be seeing a Michael Chandler scenario where he comes in, has one good performance in his career, and then gets a title shot. So he's a contender already, in my opinion. I'm very excited to see.
Well, and I don't disagree with you, but I also think it's interesting. We've seen guys like Alex Pereira, who have accolades outside the UFC, not even in the sport of MMA, come into the UFC with more hype than Patchy Mix is coming into the UFC with.
Right, but he beat
Israel.
That's the only reason.
Agreed.
It would be like if Patchy Mix had a win over
Henry Cejudo.
Well, right now it would be like he had a win over Merab. It's like, oh, this guy, which, gym propaganda, but the word on the street is that Patchy Mix throttles Merab in the training room.
He is a massive bantamweight too.
Yeah,
and I think it reminds me a lot of like an Aljamain Sterling style. But with sometimes a lot more damage.
No, they're pretty much the same person. You know, if you ordered Aljamain Sterling but wanted to get a cheaper version to give to your kid, you'd buy Patchy Mix. That's kind of the situation here. You know, you have that crossover in Bellator and PFL. You know, our friend Danny is kind of like a Merab, to say, just insane cardio. Not you know, and this is no offense to Danny, not a ton of finishing power, but just the insane amount of pace and takedowns that he puts on. Super exciting.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I'm that's the fight I'm honestly probably the most excited for outside of our teammate. Obviously, Gamrot is on UFC 316, but sorry, going back to UFC Vegas 107 is what I was trying to say.
Right.
That's one of the fights I'm most excited for coming up. Obviously, next week we have Mateusz Gamrot fighting Ludovic Klein. This is kind of weird, to be honest, but I understand why it's happening because people are matched up right now in lightweight, at the lightweight division. The rankings, for the most part, are all matched up. And I think it's kind of left Gamrot out a few times. This isn't the first time this has happened to Mateusz Gamrot, where he's just been a bit written off. And I think it's kind of wild that in a division as deep as the lightweight division, we are seeing an unranked guy who I believe deserves a ranked opponent. But does he deserve number 8 in the world to fight his way into the rankings right now is the question.
Well, I mean, that if he wins, then yeah, he did. That's the one thing about our sport. You know, if you put an unranked guy against a champion, you can say that he doesn't deserve it at all. But then if he goes and he wins, clearly, then you look stupid. You know, clearly he deserved it. He won. This isn't a team sport. You know, this isn't the greatest high school football team versus the worst high school football team. You know, this is an individual sport where anything can happen. Anybody can win. And it's definitely a test for Gamrot, you know. The other thing too is, and I'm kind of running into this as well, they probably just can't find guys to fight him, to be honest. Mateusz Gamrot, not the most exciting guy. And I say that with love because I am also not the most exciting guy. But people don't want to fight that guy because he's probably going to beat you, you know. You got to get him on short notice or some really wacky judges.
That definitely has happened.
Never lost in America.
Wow.
He's only lost in Abu Dhabi twice and Australia, or Perth, or wherever it was.
Yeah, Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think a lot of guys are lining up to fight a guy like Gamrot, and
I wouldn't.
And unfortunately, that is what makes our sport a bit of a spectacle sometimes, and not just the best guy's going to fight right now. It's also who builds their brand, and
but it's also a good thing because it creates want and need. So like we were talking earlier about PFL, how we see the same matchups, and they're good matchups, but we can only see the best two guys fight each other over and over and over so many times. So if you have this, like, dude, he's beaten a bunch of decent guys. Now we want to see him fight a good guy. Oh, he's beaten 3 good guys. Now we want to see him fight for the belt, you know?
Right.
So it definitely does create a good storyline, and it also creates opportunity. It really does.
No, and SG, you're making a great point. I think it's time for Klein to have a test. The question is he ready for a test like Mateusz Gamrot? He did have solid takedown defense against Moises. And Klein is, I agree here, Klein is a very underrated fighter, and he's very complete. I think that Mateusz is just the pure speed of his initial shot is something that is very underrated in the UFC.
And it's chain wrestling.
Like, he has one of the best shots in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's something people don't necessarily pay attention to, that specific piece of his game. Like, you talk about his wrestling, but just that initial speed. He shoots a really great low single. He's super fast. It's very well timed. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be really interesting against Klein, because I do expect Klein to stop maybe the first shot, maybe the second shot. But what about the third, fourth, and fifth?
We've also seen in the past, once people were able to get him down, he didn't do great. You know, he's lost to Mike Trezano. He's lost to Nate the Train.
Right.
And I understand that was at 145. You know, maybe the weight cut was a little too much for him. Maybe. Totally understandable. But, you know, he's going up against a guy. This is the test. You know, if he wins, he's the real deal. If we see Gamrot completely dominate him, I would not be surprised. But we will be there live and in person.
Yes, we will. Super pumped. Let's hit this main event as well. I honestly kind of expected the odds on this main event. I don't know if they've since updated since we made this graphic, but I thought these would be a bit closer, to be honest. I do kind of understand it because I do think Blanchfield has a few bigger names on her resume in general. And Macy Barber is obviously coming off of a long layoff and some illness. But I'm very 50-50 on this fight right now. And there's a couple reasons for it. I think that there is absolutely an opportunity for Blanchfield to beat Macy Barber like she did Tyler Santos. Very grindy, holding her against the cage. Gets a few takedowns. And if she gets her down, I absolutely think Blanchfield has the superior grappling.
Right.
My issue here is Erin Blanchfield tends to come straight in when she initiates the grappling, and Macy Barber is so incredibly good at creating chaos and doing damage in these like car crashes. She lands big elbows. She cuts a lot of girls open, which is something you don't often see in the female divisions. And I think she does a really good job of creating damage. And lately we've been seeing the judges really favor in closer fights. If somebody is wearing a lot of damage, the judges seem to be favoring the other fighter more recently. So I'm a little bit split on this.
See, I'm going to have to disagree with you here. I think that these odds are accurate, if not, should be a little bit more towards Blanchfield. We've seen shared opponents. They both have wins over Miranda Maverick. And if you look at Miranda versus Macy, it was close.
I actually scored the fight for Miranda.
I don't like Miranda enough to admit that, but a lot of people thought that Macy lost that fight. Nobody thought that when she fought Blanchfield. Blanchfield absolutely destroyed that woman. And I think that if you look at the highest level girls that they've beaten, Blanchfield is just running through them. The wins, running through them. You know, take down, take the back, submission. Oh, I can't get you down. I'm just going to push you against the cage and beat the crap out of you. And then if you look at Macy Barber, her highest level wins are very close. They're not as dominant, and a lot of the times you're arguing, and a lot of the times that she does win against these higher level girls, you're seeing her just do a stall tactic, push you against the cage. You know, I've got to think that aside from her last performance against Blanchfield has looked amazing. And I don't see a lot of holes in her game. We've talked about it. I think she needs to wrestle on the legs a little bit more. I think she needs to set up her takedowns a little bit better. But other than that, like, I just don't see a lot of holes in her game. And I feel like I see a lot more holes in Macy Barber's game, you know?
There's definitely a little bit more chaos to a Macy Barber fight than your typical Erin Blanchfield fight. You have a very clear idea of where Blanchfield was trying to go every time she fights. I also like this take from Jake over here. I do think 5 rounds helps Erin. When she fought Rose, for example, like, she got stronger as the fight went on. And even when she fought Firo in a fight, she was getting mostly dominated, and she had moments later in the fight. And so I do like, I'm leaning a bit Blanchfield. I still think that there's a lot of opportunities for Macy to land something big, I think, is where I'm a little bit back and forth.
So how many girls has Macy finished with that big thing?
That's actually a good question. Hebus. She finished Hebus, like, bloodied her up pretty bad.
If you had asked me a year ago, I would have said that's a big win. But today,
it hasn't aged as well.
I just don't think that's
That's
big,
fair.
You know?
That's fair. Let's pull them up. No, let's pull them up. Let's see. Hebus, went to decision. The decision with Andrea Lee. She did not look good in that fight. Yeah. I will agree. She looked better when she fought Caitlin Seminara.
Split decision. Like, it just looks like when she fights the highest level girls, she loses or should have lost. And other than Moran Furo, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, Blanchfield really just runs through everybody. Rear naked choke.
She had a closer fight with Rose.
The former world champion who
which
has 2 wins over Weili Zhang.
Great win.
And 2 wins over Joanna Jędrzejczyk. That Rose. Yeah.
Calm down. But like if we go back to her finishes, I think the Jessica Andrade win is a great notch in the belt, but she also has not looked as good as of late as well. So if we're comparing that to the Hebus win, and then other Aaron Blanchfield's other finishes are Molly McCann and JJ Aldrich.
Okay, hold on. But Macy Barber's aged wins that don't look so good. Amanda Hebos never had a belt, never fought for a belt, never beat the highest level girls. You're talking about an aged win with...
I wasn't going to say this, but it's in the comments section. She did finish Jillian as well.
Who did?
Macy
Barber finished Jillian Roberts?
Yeah. I think it would look different if they fought again, but I wasn't going to bring it up.
I mean that happens, but it's just
got caught,
Well, who cares? It happens. Bobby Green finished me. Who cares? Apparently.
The MMA holes. This is a great handle, by the way, the MMA holes. When it's Dawson versus Green 2, we need revenge.
The problem is if we set that up and I completely dominated him, people would still comment like you lost to Bobby Green. So it doesn't
Nobody
really,
cares.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, so. It was Baby G, Baby Jillian. She was very, very young in the UFC at the time.
But it's just I feel like Barber's higher win. Blanchfield's bigger wins are just bigger, and her one loss is just bigger.
Can we get a damn co-host who can pronounce the names correctly? Grant's officially replacing Prancing Dave. SG said this one before. Grant versus Roofy.
You can roof right off.
Not your best, but
that's a big boy. That's a big boy.
He's a big dude.
I saw him at Francis's fight, and I was fat and just ate an entire pizza on my own. And I was at weigh-ins with Francis, and Roofy who just made weight. He's huge. He's humongous. I pray to God he doesn't stay at 55 very long. His teammate is even scarier, though, Gene Silva.
Yeah, he's a big dude. Let's let him stay down at 45.
Yeah, that guy's scary.
And Roofy can go up to 70.
That ninja choke.
No, you're making me lean more Blanchfield. I don't disagree with... Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. Apparently, Dave doesn't like Rose. Barber will be there to take down. She swings hard hooks and overcommits. I do agree with that. I do agree. It's just if she can time, if Blanchfield can time the shots. And I think if she wrestles on the legs, I think she does a lot better. The issue I'm seeing lately is I feel like Blanchfield has not been wrestling on the legs. And I think that's the way to beat Macy Barber, because she does overcommit sometimes and she's willing to engage in the pocket, and that's when you need to be shooting on the legs. So maybe we'll see her utilize that more.
I'm curious. I agree with you that she needs to shoot on the legs more. We're speaking the same language. I'm just curious as to, other than the girl that just fought for the belt and had a competitive fight with the champion,
100%.
who are we like, oh, she's not looking that great against, like a juiced up Kyla Santos.
That's true. And she didn't look great in that fight, but I agree that was peak.
Like
Kyla Santos.
She's beaten at least 2 world champions. Rose and
Jessica Andrade.
Thank you. Rose and Jessica Andrade. She's beaten a former title contender who I thought won the belt.
And Macy doesn't have those names on her resume yet.
I'm just confused as to where we think, like if Macy was undefeated against the level of competition she's fought, I'd be like, okay, we don't know.
That's fair.
We don't know how she's going to do at the high level, or at the highest level. But we've seen both, and so far Macy has come up short. And
no, that's fair. I do think she's made a lot of improvements, because I give her credit because she did get into the UFC really, really young.
Right.
And I feel like the version of her that we see now versus the version of her that we saw even without the injury fighting Roxanne Modafferi is a very different fighter.
Right.
So,
but you can't say that. Well, Macy's probably getting better, and not say, well,
Blanchfield's also getting better. Right.
Remember, Blanchfield's just as young. Like, she's a baby. I think she's 24, 25, something like that, and she's already competing at the highest level.
Yeah, no, she's older than that, right?
Her and Miranda were very.
She's 26. Young. She's 26.
That's
still super young in the sport.
How old is Macy Barber?
I think they're similar age, aren't they? Because Macy got in real young. 27. Yeah, so they're almost the same age. Yeah. So no, it's fair. Like, so they both have a lot of time to improve and
get better and work on with it. And I just hope that there's a coach in
Erin
Blanchfield's corner saying, like, we need to work on our double legs. We need to work on our single legs. Get rid of the body lock. Stop body locking people. We're shooting under.
Yeah. And I think
if she fixes that, she's going to beat everybody.
No, I don't disagree. I just think at the high level, I don't think girls are getting taken down on the body lock.
Right.
It's just not happening. I'm curious. We are definitely going to get to this MMA holes. We're gonna hit a few headlines here in just a minute, and I promise we will talk about this. I saw somebody was asking about Patchy Mix versus Mario Batista as well. I think it was Choi. Rewind at the beginning of the show when we end, because we were talking about that at the beginning. We are both siding with Patchy here. We agree that he should be the favorite.
Very excited to see him.
Very excited. I think Macy Barber got a chest procedure. It's suspicious. What? Oh, I don't know. She got sick. She was very ill.
Can we real quick? Can we talk about one more thing about Patchy Mix?
Yeah.
Like, just before we move on, which I find very weird, right? So the UFC has signed 2 of Bellator. This isn't funny. This is real. Has signed 2 of Bellator and PFL's best fighters, in my opinion, which was Patchy Mix and Aaron Pico. Patchy Mix is
Forget Kayla Harrison.
Patchy Mix is fighting. That's even better, because she fought Holly Holm,
right?
And then pretty much got a title shot after that. Patchy Mix is fighting way back in the rankings, kind of somebody that nobody really knows about or likes, and he was a champion twice. Beat multiple contenders, beat multiple former world champions, beat the best of his division. He's fighting kind of a nobody. Then you have Aaron Pico, who is rumored to be fighting Movsar.
Which makes no sense to me.
Pico never had a belt. Pico never beat anybody of, like, oh wow, he's got a win over that guy.
I'm gonna pull this up too while
he's about this. And he's amazing and he's fun.
He's a great fighter.
But he's knocking out cans, and he gets Movsar Evloev. Like, he wins, instant title shot. Fact.
No, 100%. Movsar should be getting the instant title shot.
Of course, but it's just like, look how he could just bounce up. And then you have Patchy Mix, who's fighting. He'll probably beat Batista. I think he'll choke him. And then he's got to fight, Piotr Jan or Corey Sandhagen to get that shot. He should be stepping in to fight Piotr Jan right now. That should be the fight. Winner gets a title shot. No questions asked. It's just weird to me that how they handled that.
Well, and just the level that's also beaten. That's also beaten Aaron Pico. Like, I understand. Right. Like, I really like Adam Boric, and I think he is a really great fighter for PFL. But I don't think you could take Adam Boric out of the PFL, put him in the UFC, and see him have the same level of wins and the same types of wins. I just don't think that happens.
You're 100% right. Keep in mind his age. And here's the thing about Pico. His losses are knockouts and injuries. Yeah. That's it. You can't control.
And he was beating Jeremy Kennedy before that fight, right?
I've never seen him.
He's a great fighter.
I've never one submission in his debut against a good guy, but he got rocked before that. So it's like he gets knocked out or he gets injured. So if he doesn't get injured, I love Movsar to death. He's a close friend of mine. I'm just being real. Movsar's not knocking out Pico.
Right.
So now we're at a weird state where an immovable object meets unstoppable force. Because if I can't knock you out, I've got to wrestle with you. Pico's got good boxing, good power,
good wrestling,
great wrestling, and really good cardio, power. So it's like, this is a very interesting fight to me. Yeah. But it's weird. Like, there's so many better matchups for Patchy Mix, not matchup wise, just like fights I want to see. I don't want to see him lose a boring decision to Mario Batista, and now he's got to fight. Now he's going to fight Joe Blow, who's on a 2-fight losing streak. He's going to choke him in 10 seconds, and we got to build back. Throw him in there against Piotr Jan.
Yeah.
You know, Pitbull got Yair Rodriguez.
Oh my goodness. And that's like, I 100% agree with you right here, Sean Sterling. Yair should need another fight.
100%.
Yair lost.
100%.
Then and looked terrible doing it. Beat a 38-year-old UFC debut.
Yeah.
Former champ in Bellator. I understand. But 38-year-old guy who has 0 wins in the UFC and gets a title shot while 19-0 Movsar
Take
is
Movsar
fighting.
out of it. There's other guys. Murphy.
Yeah.
I'd rather.
Is he ready for a title shot? Like, where's he at in the rank?
He just beat Josh Emmett, who Yair beat to get a title shot.
You're right.
So it's like, and in my opinion, beat him better. Like, completely outclassed him. Is he as exciting? Probably not. But it's like, dude, this guy got choked out by Brian Ortega. Like, okay, you don't want to give Movsar the title shot? Fine. There's other guys. There are other people that I would rather see.
Yeah. And I don't know why this isn't happening. I agree with SG here. Like, this fight should have happened. You have Mexico City cards. You have a Guadalajara card coming up. Like, why aren't we having 2 Spanish speakers in Mexico that hate each other fighting, who are both exciting? Like, I feel like there's so much better matchups to be made.
You could give it to Arnold
Jake,
Allen.
you took the words out of my mouth. Why isn't Yair fighting Lopez in Guadalajara? I actually think they're losing the venue in Guadalajara. I don't think that was, and honestly, I hope they do. I don't think they should make fighters fight in Mexico. Too many guys are getting food poisoning and sick from the water. Like, they shouldn't do events there.
Every fight should be in Vegas.
That would be nice. Yeah. I would love it if you only fought in Vegas.
Yeah. I want them to make, like, you got the Apex and then you got like the Apex Pro Plus, and it's just this ginormous building, and you can just set thousands of fans, and you just had it every weekend, and you do a show on Wednesday and a show on Saturday, and you just sell that bitch out every time. I'll go.
That would be awesome, honestly. I heard a rumor of Lopez versus Silva. So we actually heard that this is not happening. So we heard that they're trying to target Silva for somebody else, but I heard that this is fake news. No Diego versus Silva. So I'm not sure what the next move is for them. They're literally building a new arena in Vegas. Do it. Do all the fights there. We love when you fight.
There's the Apex, and then there's the PI, and they're like right next to each other, and right in the middle is this giant lot that they own. It's humongous, and they've been talking about building a fighter hotel. They've been talking about building another performance institute. They've been talking about building all kinds of things to help the UFC build an arena.
Yeah.
Build an arena. And I guarantee, even if you build an arena with, like, say, let's just say can hold 1,000 fans, you're going to sell that out every single time. Every fighter gets 4 guests. Make it 8 guests. Every fighter get 8 guests. You'll sell that out. The place will be going crazy. Make it bright. It's like if you got a shrink ray and just shrunk down
T-Mobile.
Right. and packed T-Mobile and just shrunk it down, you know?
No, that would be cool. And that would make the Apex, like, instead of doing the Apex cards, you actually have fans. Like, the only time I've ever heard fans cheer in the Apex loud enough to hear them on TV is when Grant talked about my butt on national television. That's the only time. But
the old dumpy.
But I saw one matchup I liked. Hang on. Shot of God said, how would Lopez versus Aljo play out? I actually like that matchup. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's fun.
And it makes sense.
Yeah. I think Aljo is a tough walnut. I think he's going to beat a lot of guys. And I think, honestly, they're trying to keep him away from the guys that they want to grow. I think he beats Leon Murphy. I think he beats some of these contenders. Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think he beats Gene Silva. And I know Gene Silva's the big, scary guy right now. And he is. He's terrifying. I don't even fight in his weight class, and I'm scared of that dude. But I just think Aljo gives these guys especially in 3-rounders. You put him in 3-rounders, I don't think he's going to lose a lot of those.
Let's say, especially when they're dry. Like, Aljo loses almost no first rounds because he's so good at getting stuck to you early. Yeah. And when you get stuck to someone early and you're dry, and it's a guy like Aljo, like, it's really hard to get away from him for that first 5 minutes. We even saw it with O'Malley, even though
and Piotr
Jan, yeah. I mean, but even though O'Malley ends up finishing him in the second, like, that first round,
he lost.
Like, he was smothered. and he was smothered against the cage.
Give us Silva versus Yusuf Zalal. I actually like that. I like Yusuf, and this is coming from boring fighter to boring fighter. There's not a lot of guys I want to see him fight. Like Yusuf, when he tunes in, and my heart goes out to him because he's the striking version of me. Boring as fuck. And
nice guy,
boring AF. And but there's not a lot of guys that I want to see him. But because he's a thinker. He's a tactician. And then you've got calm, cool, collected versus crazy. That would kind of be the fight that should have been Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. What we thought it was going to be. Because Paulo Costa usually fights with reckless abandonment. Yeah. Doesn't care. Go watch his fight with
I will say I think Silva is a much more intelligent fighter than Paulo Costa, but he still throws.
Yes, I agree. But go watch Paulo Costa versus Yoel Romero. That fight was amazing. One of the best fights. And then we're like, oh man, he's gonna do this to Izzy, and then he came out and just fainted at him. Which is probably it's what Izzy was doing. It wasn't what Paulo Costa did. It was, Izzy's just good at drawing you out.
I mean, you even saw him do it to Imavov a little bit in their fight, and Izzy is considered old now, and Imavov's on his way up. But you saw Imavov even felt that sense of urgency, where it's oh, I need to shoot.
How do you put a comment on it?
Just click it.
No, not that one. That one. That's the important one.
Grant, you're not boring. The fans are just fickle. You guys see that clip of Gene Silva getting jump scared playing a horror game? If something scares Gene Silva, I don't want to see it. All right, we promised we'd peel back some of these headlines, guys. So let's get into it. We have to touch on this first. Tom Aspinall says he has fight news. I highly doubt that fight news is John Jones, just from unless he's playing all of us for a fool, just based on his demeanor and his presence online right now. It seems like John Jones's mind is everywhere but in the octagon. So,
which, to be fair, that was his whole career.
that is fair, and I'm really sad to see it now. I am all for getting to being the GOAT, having GOAT status. And as you build that GOAT status, you get a little bit more privilege. But I would love a little bit of humility from John Jones. He knows this is what everybody wants to see. And it just seems like he's I'm going to break a record of holding on to this belt where I'm going to be the longest reigning heavyweight champion just by not fighting, which is such a cop-out. It's just so disappointing. And this is the first time I've ever seen this. But there's actually, I don't know if this does anything, if the UFC cares, but there's an actual fan petition, and it's way more now. This was just when we took the screenshot. There were 74,000 signatures from fans that want to strip John Jones of the undisputed UFC heavyweight belt. That's how upset the fan base is right now.
That looks like something that Tom Aspinall made and posted out.
Except it's not. It's a real petition. It was an MMA fan started it.
Anybody can make a petition.
For sure, but it's an actual site where you create a petition and they track the number of signatures. So the signatures are real. Yeah. No matter who started it.
The fan that started its name was Aspinall Tom. So we're not sure who that is.
No, and maybe the petition itself is silly because it probably isn't going to do much, but at least it's a vocalization of what the fans are saying and what we're tired of seeing, which is John Jones not defending his title. And it was so disappointing to see somebody we were so excited to see come back, who we didn't think we were going to see fight again.
Versus somebody that could actually beat
Exactly.
him. Nobody was excited about him versus Gane. Nobody was excited. And to be completely honest with you, I look like a fool, but I was picking Gane in that fight. I thought his footwork was going to be good enough. I was absolutely wrong. I thought his footwork was going to be good enough to give him a test, a challenge at least. Nope. And then fought Stipe, and it was like, there's no way. This is not going to be fun. Dude, he looked weird in that fight. John Jones, not fighting wise, just
the lead up and
no, like just I can't explain it. In the octagon after the fight, he just looked dark. I can't explain it. Like evil John Jones, you know,
like he's trying to turn heel.
Yeah, this is my dark side, you know, like
weird.
I don't know. He just gave me the heebie-jeebies. I also just said, I don't know, he looked dark, so that's gonna give me
Imagine getting your career and legacy get held back because Jones is enjoying his vacation in Thailand. Yeah,
but he's Irish honeypotting. Like he's doing what Connor did to Chandler. Yeah. Like Chandler could have lost so many amazing fights in that time that he was waiting for Connor, you know, and I think John Jones is just waiting for Stipe to be out of his prime so that he can fight him.
You mean Aspinall? Yeah.
Sorry.
No, honestly, like that's kind of what he kind of like disappeared. Francis Ngannou came on the scene. We all wanted to see that fight. Never happened. Yeah. Like
he's definitely not a fighter of the people.
No.
You know.
No. And that's a shame.
He's calling out for Alex Pereira. Like
if they were going to do that fight, the time has passed now. It needed to be before the Ankalaev fight.
Even in Alex Pereira's prime, nobody wanted to see that fight. I didn't. I'm a super fan.
I know what's going to happen. Yeah. I feel like, you know, like the wrestling, the size.
No, he'd finish him in under a round. Yeah. In under a round. It wouldn't be close. I'd be more interested in the fight if Jones went back down, but we know that couldn't happen. But even if he went back down, we know what's going to happen. He's going to jab him across he's going to stomp on his knee, and then as soon as Alex gets a little momentum, boop, take him down, choke him out, end the thing. Everybody says he's the greatest of all time.
Jones is real-life Homelander.
That's
what was in his eyes.
That's what I was trying. That was perfect.
Oh, damn.
That was perfect. Like he just, you know how like Homelander just gives you that like
it just makes your skin crawl.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it was doing. Like, you know, even you see the actor who's out of character.
Yeah. I'm sure is a very nice guy.
I'm sure he's
makes your skin
sweetest human being, but he's just such a good actor. It makes your skin crawl. You're just like, I don't want to be near that person.
No.
That's what John Jones was doing to me after that fight.
Yeah. See, is John relevant to the newer fans? The post-COVID generation, most of these have never seen. Honestly, that's a good point. That might be why the fans are having such a violent reaction to Jones right now. Is a lot of the newer fans, like they didn't get to see Jones become the youngest champion in history. They didn't get to see him dominate Daniel Cormier, and so all they're seeing is his disappointing behavior now.
Yeah,
and that it really is a shame because heavyweight is at its worst right now.
It's terrible.
And that is so sad for guys like Tom Aspinall who are world class.
Yeah. And
John Jones, I do think, has the ability to bring some life back to that weight class if he were being active.
That fight does.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't want to see John Jones versus Cyril Gane. I don't
want
to
see
Volkov? Nope.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it. I don't like Volkov.
I know Volkov is like
I think Volkov
upset. He's not the most exciting, and his last fight.
This is coming from a leg humper, by the way.
But and I know he's upset too because it does make sense that, you know, maybe Volkov would have fought for a belt by now if the division hadn't been so held up. You know, maybe Tom would have fought Jones,
right?
Gane and Volkov rematch or whatever, and then Volkov wins the decision that he won the first time. Right. And
but I just don't want to see there's one heavyweight fight I want to see. Just one. And it is John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. That's it.
But that has the ability to give the division life.
But after that fight, what do you want to see?
I know.
John Jones wins. What do you want to see?
That's fair.
John Jones loses. What do you want to see?
At least if he loses, Tom Aspinall becomes more of a star. And then when Taliesin Teixeira is ready for a title shot, there's something exciting to happen. I think if Jones retires again without fighting Aspinall doesn't get to make his name off Jones the way Jones was able to make his name off of the 205ers of his era. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's sad because John Jones got to beat some of the best guys in his division. Your Shogun, and then he fought Rampage, and then he had this huge rivalry match. You might be a little young for this matchup, but it was Evans versus Jones. Like that was the huge. And then you had Sonnen come up, and he's just dominating everybody. You know, and there's just There's no, like, who's the big grudge match for Tom Aspinall after this fight?
Right. It doesn't exist yet, but I'm just saying it could. There are some fresh faces on the horizon. They're not the most exciting yet, but Taliesin Teixeira is going to be exciting if he keeps winning. You know,
all the guys that could be Tom Aspinall's, like, DC or Tom Aspinall's Evans, all the guys that are athletic enough to deal with him play football. So I just don't.
You think the division's just
it's dead?
Cursed?
It's dead in the water. Yeah. There's one good guy that I really want to see, and that's Jailton Almeida. But I just don't think he's good at heavyweight. I think that he has a style that needs thin hips, and so he can put in his hooks and body triangle and get chokes, and he can't do that, you know. So I honestly think he would do much better if he went to 205, which 205 is a way tougher weight class, but just stylistically.
Yeah. No, Sean, this is a great question. Yeah, if Tom takes another fight and loses, like if he loses to Gane, yeah, like it does let Jones off the hook, but it still kills the division. Like there's no win-win here for anybody.
Is Volkov not the next contender?
Didn't he lose a fight that everybody thought he won? Like or am I mixing that up?
No, you might be right.
Yeah, because Gane won.
Was it against Gane?
Yeah, it was against Gane.
Ah, okay.
Like, but everybody thought it was the wrong decision.
I remember that now. Garbage truck.
I can hear it. Yeah. Yeah, he lost. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's so that's why that's the only reason Gane is fighting for the possibly interim title against Tom. Yeah. But it honestly kind of should be Volkov. And I don't know.
But it's
not. Neither of them are exciting fights.
It's so funny that it's like, okay, he gets out wrestled by Jones. No shame in that. He gets out wrestled by Francis. Little shame in that. And now he's fighting Tom Aspinall. Assuming he fights Tom Aspinall, I just don't want to see it. Heavyweight is dead. I'm going to be honest with you, and I was telling you this the other day. I'm more excited for the women's division than I am for heavyweight right now, and that's a problem.
No, you're not wrong. Like it's sad, especially when we're seeing so much new life in some of these lower divisions. Like 170 is by far at its best that it's ever been at, and it's super exciting. And we have a changing of the guard happening at lightweight. We have flyweights, male flyweights to get super excited about.
Right.
Andre Lima, Joshua Van, like some young studs coming up.
I don't care what anybody says either. Lightweight is killer right now, and welterweight is the most exciting division
by far. Now. Yeah,
easily.
No,
easily the most exciting division. And all those guys are in their 20s. The top like guys at lightweight, all of them could, other than Arman, all of them could retire in a year, half a year's time, 2 fights time, 1 fight's time. You know, and an ACL injury on Justin Gaethje is career ending.
Right.
An ACL injury on pretty much anybody in the top 15 of welterweight, other than like maybe
is a year off, and
then comes back probably better. Like it's a really scary division right now. Ian Gary,
so young.
Everybody's so young. Ian Gary, Sean Brady, Shavkat, Morales. I know he just lost, but Carlos Pratas, I still think is really, really good. This Michael Morales dude. Who have we seen do that to Burns?
No, it was, and I really like this fight next for him. I think
he's I
think he's a really tough stylistic matchup for Leon, but it's a totally different style from what he just fought, which I love. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for them to give him somebody that he can strike with and have a really exciting performance. He could possibly get a knockout. He could possibly out wrestle and submit Leon Edwards. Like there's just so many ways for him to win this fight. And I think Leon is one of those guys who is older. Like he's one of the 2 older guys in the division, but he's still very sound. Like he still has a lot of technique and skill and athleticism.
You know what's funny about Leon Edwards and his brother? It seems like they're kind of going through a transition that another dynamic duo went through. The Lima brothers. You know, one was in the UFC, one's in Bellator. One's in the UFC, one's in Bellator. The one in Bellator did better than the one in the UFC, but now this way it's flip-flop. The one in the UFC does better than the one in Bellator. Although the Bellator one is doing very well.
Yeah. Huge win over Impa.
Yeah.
Finished
But it's, well, I guess it's PFL now.
Yeah, PFL.
But it's just, they train together, and they train at what you would consider a smaller gym.
Yeah.
I have to assume that Leon Edwards is the best guy when he steps on the mat. You know, yesterday we did a group of 4. It was me, Dakota Bush, Moicano, and Dustin Poirier, right? Like 3 UFC top 10 guys, and then Dakota, who, by the way, won all the rounds, which is, I'm not making that up. He subbed me, he subbed Dustin, and he won a round against Moicano. So, like, that dude's a beast. But we're getting off topic. I just don't think that Leon Edwards is going through that. I don't think I think he's stepping on the mat, and he's able to, like, slip punches because everybody else is just so
everybody.
Everybody's so afraid of him. Everybody's so respectful of him. And at ATT, we're all coming for blood, not to hurt each other. We're being safe, but it's like I'm trying to see where I'm at, and if me and Moicano are going without hurting each other, I'm trying to see if I'm better than him. And most of the time, I'm wrong, but that doesn't stop me from trying. That makes him better. That makes me better. And then it's also, you saw that our whole group is after the practice, we're just sitting down, sipping on water and discussing the rounds.
Right.
Hey, what did you do here? Hey, how did you do this here? Like, I learned more in that little chat that we had after the practice.
And it was a while, guys.
Yeah.
Trust me, I was waiting.
Well, yeah, we'll chat of your own. But I just don't think Leon Edwards, that's what's happening.
Right.
And I think he's getting off the mat. He thinks he knows better than everybody else, and he's going home.
Probably does.
That's
he's the highest ranking guy.
That's
in the
a
room.
problem.
Yeah.
You know.
Moicano put that up on his YouTube. That's awesome, dude. Guys, we say it all the time, probably too much.
Moicano
but
put what up on his YouTube?
I'm assuming he was talking about Dakota, or was it Dakota, or just the group of 4? But I know we say this too much, but Dakota is right there. Like, they have to re-sign this guy. Yeah. He's so much more prepared for the UFC this time.
Right. Like, his nickname is K9 Unit, because that dude is a dog. Like, he
so dumb.
there are a couple of guys that are UFC level and not in the UFC, and then there's a rare few guys that are top 10 level, not in the UFC, and that's him. Like, you can throw him in there with, dude, he beats Benoit. He beats who's ranked on it? Joel Alvarez. He beats these guys. I'm telling you, and it doesn't look like it because of who he's fought, and he's gotten so much better. It's crazy to me. Sub Dustin, out wrestled Moicano. Like,
dude's world class.
Yeah, I didn't get away from him once, and I get away from everybody. Kind of pissed me off, actually. I'm gonna fuck him up, actually.
All right. We touched on welterweight. We have to peel back this headline as well, because the welterweight division is super, super exciting right now. So apparently, John Anik broke on the Anik and Florian podcast, who we love. Shout out to them. We love John Anik. Bilal versus Shavkat in October. There's your breaking news. Immediately after, Shavkat Rakhmonov's manager gets out and puts out on X, LOL, no, it's not. So I don't dislike this matchup. It does kind of make sense to me, but I also feel like you could very easily put Shavkat into a title contention spot immediately. Like, he could just get the next shot after, is ideally, or not ideally, but most likely Islam versus JDM.
Here's the issue. And real quick, I'm going to touch on this. Most MMA fighters know this. John Anik is Bilal Muhammad's best friend. They are butt buddies till death. And I love that for them. That's so cute.
It's so cute.
I'm going to tell you right now that best friends absolutely know more than managers. Okay? My friends have known who I'm fighting before my manager at some point. Also, managers lie. They have this weird...
Right, where they want to break news on their terms.
Exactly.
And they want to leak it to their news outlets that pay them.
Everything is done except... they haven't faxed the contract back. And so he's like, no, it's not. That's fake news. I'm important. And so I absolutely think that fight is what's happening next. I am way more inclined to believe John Anik than some manager I've never heard of. Side note, if Islam Makhachev wins, I promise you that he is not defending his title.
Yeah.
I think it is a good idea for Shavkat to get the win. We want if I'm Shavkat, I want to be able to say that I deserve this shot. I'm undefeated. I have all these. If Islam is not going to defend, he needs to vacate. Right?
Right.
And I truly believe that Islam, if he does win, which I'm leaning more and more that he's not going to, but if he does win, I promise he's not. You think he's going to fight Sean Brady? You think, like, he had trouble getting Volkanovski down. He had trouble getting Dustin Poirier down. You think he's going to fight Sean Brady? You think he's going to fight this 6'12" dude with hands the size of lunchboxes that just knocked the absolute dog crap out of?
You think he wants to fight Buckley?
No, he's not.
We forgot about Buckley. We didn't even bring him up.
That's how good this weight class is.
Like, Shot of God brought up, yeah, Buckley might be more deserving of a title shot.
It's crazy. So it's like, I promise you, Islam is going to win that belt, and he's going to deuce out.
If he wins the belt. Which
if he even does. I don't think
Jack's
he's going to.
Super tough matchup for him.
I totally agree.
He was so incredibly well prepared for Bilal.
Just mentally so strong. Physically strong.
Never stops trying to.
Never stops.
The one thing I will say with Islam is the front headlock game. If Islam gets a takedown, and Jack is so good at scrambling, I do think he can get back to his feet with Islam, but there's more danger on the in-between of giving up your back and getting back to your feet with Islam than there is with Bilal. There's more danger in that in-between. You're forgetting.
It's a lot harder to choke somebody that doesn't have a friggin' neck. The dude's built like this, you know. That he's not beating Sean Brady. I don't think he beats Bilal. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. That division is just too damn good.
It's not the division you want to move to right now.
And the one guy that has been champion that he can beat is Jack. So it's like, if he beats Jack, he's not fighting undefeated fighter Shavkat Rakhmonov, who has a 99% finish rate. He's not going to do it. I promise you. If he doesn't retire in the cage, he's going to hold on to that belt for 2.5 years, and we're going to have a John Jones situation.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's talk on this. I think we have a little bit of a hot take with this. Like, if Islam wins, does he enter Mount Rushmore? Absolutely. I don't think he should, though.
Really?
No.
Why? If he wins, no.
At lightweight, you get the double champ status is huge. I agree. I think part of the reason Islam is such a big superstar.
Stupid star?
Superstar.
He's a stupid star. I hate him.
He's a superstar largely because of Khabib. Islam is a great fighter, but part of what makes him attractive to the fan base is his relationship to Khabib.
I agree.
I feel like with Islam as well, if we go back to the lightweight title defenses, if you look at that top, compare him to like Pantoja, who is constantly underrated and is not. Yeah, nobody talks about. Just look at the top 10 of his division, he's truly cleaned out his division. Islam, yes, has wins over Hooker, has wins over Dustin, has wins over Charles Oliveira, but I feel like there are so many good fighters at lightweight that he hasn't fought.
Right.
And so, to me, I feel like I think Khabib did a better job clearing the division, personally. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people complain that he didn't fight enough tough guys, which I don't agree with. But
listen, Dustin is one of my friends, and I love the dude, so this is no shade to him at all. Dustin, I love you. Please don't knock me out tomorrow. Dustin got dominated by Khabib. A younger, hungrier Dustin got dominated by Khabib. Gets a little bit older, gets towards the end of his prime, takes a fight on decently short notice against the champ, and goes 2-2. One judge it, so I'm 1% right. 2-2 into the fifth round. I had a 2-2 going into the fifth.
Yeah.
One judge had a 2-2 going into the fifth.
You guys, you have to go back and watch side by side. The Fight Lab did a great video on this. Shout out that dude. He makes amazing content. But there's this awesome side by side of Dustin hitting his switch, which he does beautifully, hitting it on Islam versus hitting it on Khabib. Exact same switch. On Islam, it works several times. On Khabib makes these little adjustments, stepping over.
He's just
better. He's just better.
He's a better fighter than and part of it is natural. He doesn't get tired. He's got a killer granite chin, and he's stronger than everybody else in the division. If you were born with those 3 things, you're just going to be – it's like watching a welterweight become the featherweight GOAT. Because it's like, dude, he's not even that good. I'm not saying Khabib is. I'm just like, a not very good welterweight should beat most of the featherweights, if not all of them, just because of the sheer size and strength and conditioning. And they're smaller, so his chin is going to look a lot better. That's Khabib in a 55er's body. Like, so gifted. And then he's so talented on the ground.
And this is, this is something to talk about too. I don't think the UFC is going to sign Usman. I could be wrong, and I really hope they don't, because they don't need any more lightweights right now. They really don't. The Ilya caused enough issues pretending he can't make 145 anymore. I still don't believe that for a second. But I honestly, I don't really see it. But yeah.
I'm going to go pee.
Greg's going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to keep peeling back these headlines, guys. I agree with you here, Sean, as well. Mount Rushmore, yeah, for me personally, I think it's like people like Ronda Rousey, like, is one of the only reasons we have women's MMA today. I think this is more of like a modern era, whatchamacallit, Mount Rushmore. So who's been said on a podcast, he has 2. Yeah, and I know he's probably most likely locked up through the end of the year, like a lot of the other fighters that have not been released yet, that probably should be. I don't think these championship cards are going to do well, to be honest. I think if they wanted to leave the champs out of the tournaments, they needed to also leave out the top 2-3 guys so the champs have people to fight. And I have never heard of this guy that Johnny Eblen is fighting on this championship card before in my entire life. I would much rather be watching him rematch Fabian Edwards or fighting, one of these guys in the tournament instead. And it's wild that Paul Hughes just fought a guy I've never heard of on PFL Europe after arguably beating Usman, having an insanely close fight against Usman, and now we have him fighting a guy we've never heard of. But
Usman.
Honestly, do you know much about Paul Hughes? This is a great question.
No, I had never.
He did arguably beat Usman. It was an insanely close fight.
I didn't even see the fight. I need to go back and watch it. Here's what I know about Usman. There is a very small handful of guys that I hope die in helicopter accidents. And Usman is one of them, because I do not want that guy coming over to the UFC. And so if Paul Hughes arguably beat him, that is a huge cap in his feather.
Yeah, no, he is incredibly good. And Paul Hughes is a talented guy. But let's peel back some headlines.
There's also styles. Styles make fights. Everybody has off nights. I've looked bad. I shouldn't say that. I've looked worse against. Yeah, perfect example. Me and Ricky Glenn. If you watch the Ricky Glenn fight, I kind of looks like I suck at fighting. And then if you watch all of my other fights, I do suck at fighting, but I'm good at winning. So it's everybody has an off night. Everybody has their Ricky Glenn and Bobby Green.
And honestly, I hope the UFC stops signing so many Russians at this point. I'm kind of over the era. I think right now we have a not very exciting champion at 205.
Yeah.
That doesn't speak a lot of English, doesn't have an exciting fighting style, and I don't think is going to be a very active champion. Yeah. And I would really like to see some different fighters from other countries getting signed right now, personally. Let's do this one. This headline. We kind of touched on this earlier. We're talking about guys getting signed and fighting for titles.
No, this is not Diet Coke. I wouldn't be caught in my bedroom dead with Diet Coke.
Coke Zero, maybe, but
only in camp.
But this is a guy, who got signed to fight for a title immediately and is now fighting pretty far down the rankings against Tim Elliott.
Still top 10. Was that 6, 8?
No,
11. Oh, sorry. My eyes are bad.
We're both like. But I really do think that you convinced me Asakura is probably going to get this done. He is a crazy athlete. And he is a really good fighter. He has wins. He has a win over Kyoji. Yeah. He is a really good fighter. And I do think he probably will do well in the UFC now. Mm-hmm. I think they devalued him a little bit by having him fight Pantoja first. I think they could have hyped up that fight a little bit more. I know they were really starved for contenders.
I actually really agree with this comment.
Dude's fast with the flying knees.
Yeah.
And Tim does duck into things sometimes.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even think that Tim is old. And that's not me saying that. That's Tim saying that. Tim acknowledges that he's an older guy. When Mikhailov was calling him out, he was like, yeah, I'd want to fight me too. I'm ancient. And he's been on a knee injury. It just seems like every time I hear something about Tim Elliott, it's him injured. And that comes from age. That comes from too many years in the game. And then you take time off and you start to feel better and you start to get back in there. And then you get into a fight camp and things don't go great. I just don't see him beating this guy. I'm sorry. I loved him to death.
Too young, too athletic,
yeah,
too quick. And I think Kai will age well in the division. I think they could have built him up to a better contender if they'd had him come in and dealt with him more like they did Patricio Pitbull or Patchy Mix. Like, I know they were starved for contenders.
The issue is in those weight classes, you have contenders. So if he doesn't win, you're not really out of contender.
No,
I think they did the right thing. I really do.
It's just, I feel like Pantoja gets, I know this was supposed to be a power hour, guys, but we haven't touched half our headlines and we're having fun talking. So unless you're 15, 20 minutes, we'll hang around for a bit longer. But what a career Tim's had. Yeah, he's been around, had a really good fight against DJ.
Had a really good fight against DJ, who is now retired, and he's older than Demetrius. Like he all of his wins are like retired now. It's just he's got to be one of the oldest, not just fighters in the UFC, but just like, dude, I think he was in the UFC before I was a professional fighter. Wow. And he got cut and came back and then won the Ultimate Fighter and all that. He's
great season of the Ultimate Fighter, by the way. It's my favorite season.
His life is season 2 of Avatar. It's so long. There's so much that happens. There's so many like different things and new characters that get introduced, but it's just one season and I think it's over.
Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment. I think Kai is a really tough, stylistic matchup for Tim, and it's I do think he'll do well. And it may be when Pantoja retires, he'll fight his way back to a title shot. But I think because Pantoja is so undervalued as a champion, like watching him finish Kai, I think devalued him a lot. So maybe I think they could probably build him back up if they. Season 2 is sick, don't you dare.
No, it's the great. No,
it's the best.
Let's stop. We got to address this. Take this MMA crap down. Avatar: The Last Airbender is the greatest American anime ever, and it is American anime. I don't care what anybody says. And season 2 is some of the best writing I've ever seen in my life. Nobody realizes how much happens in season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and none of it feels rushed. We literally meet Toph, and then she teaches Aang earthbending, and then invents metal bending in the same season, and none of that feels rushed. And just so many things happen. Omashu goes down, the Dai Li, the coup, the Warren Bossing Say, the drill. All of this is season. Zuko alone, Jet's death. All of this is season 2. Appa alone, or Appa's day alone, or whatever. All of this is in season 2. Iroh mourning over his son, season 2. So much happens in season 2. It's actually insane. Azula, like we don't even meet her until season 2, and then she's the big baddie at the end. Like season 3 is awesome. Character. Zuko had 3 different personalities. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. The blue spirit gets like his Jet freaking thing. Died. Dude, it was really unclear.
It was really unclear.
No, but there's so much that happens in that season, and not a bit of it feels rushed. Not one bit of it feels like it was rushed. Toph gets brought in like that, and she just immediately feels like part of the group. Feels like we've known her our whole lives,
We need another show like that. We do.
Well, I just don't think they can replicate that.
It was too perfect.
It was too good, and I think it was by accident. Mm-hmm. This is what happens is I think they wanted to make Avatar because they had a passionate dream about Avatar, and then everything that has come after has been just about making money. And if you do it just to make money, it will not be as good as the person who is willing to do it for free. So Tim Elliott is fighting.
All right. My main question is, which element would Grant want?
Earthbending.
Nobody cares what I want.
I am solid in the ground. Earthbending. Take you down, beat you up. Yeah.
I'm with you, SG. I did not think Cora was as bad as everybody else did.
Season 1, phenomenal. Half of season 2, phenomenal. If they had kept up with season 2, there was civil war.
Yeah.
There was war between the water tribes. Like
that was one of my favorite arcs.
It was great. There were weapons being distributed, war propaganda.
Yeah.
Great half of season 2. And then it just they explained the magic. It's the midichlorian count. Like they explained the magic. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to know who the first Avatar was. I enjoyed not knowing who the first Avatar was. And
then the disconnection from all of your past lives too. It's like, are you even the Avatar anymore?
Right.
Like that's a pretty big part of it.
The biggest drop of the ball was they completely disrespected the Avatar state. She gets the Avatar state at the end of season 2 after being gifted airbending, finally learning airbending, and then gifted her powers back. And then she masters it. And you know what she does in the first episode of season 3? She uses the Avatar state to win a race against a child.
Yeah, that's fair. It is not as good as the first.
No, not to mention, you know, who's Cora's firebending teacher? Oh, we don't know.
Yeah.
Who's Cora's earthbending teacher?
Yeah, we don't know any of it.
You assume her waterbending teacher is Katara, but you don't actually know. And then her Tenzin is her airbending teacher.
Because he's the only one.
Because he's the only one. Oh, and then they just bring back the airbenders. You know, who cares what a 300-year war did? Who cares about the genocide of a people? We're just gonna bring them back like that.
Yeah,
it was bad. It was bad. Legend of Korra was bad.
It wasn't as bad as some people think. I did
like earthbending Ozai, the girl at the end. She was cool. She was as fed up with everybody else's shit as I was by the end of that. And then she could do that cool metal bending force choke thing. Sick.
Quivira.
She
was a pretty good villain.
Oh, and then they made Korra gay at the end, which, like, dude, I don't even care about that. But if you're gonna do it, commit. Don't just yell bisexual avatar and then run out of the room.
All right. We gotta digress. There's lots of Avatar questions. We did hear about the new show. I don't know how I feel about it yet.
Oh, let's talk about that. So
okay, this is the rest of the show, guys.
No, you're good. Go on. You guys hear about the new? Yes, of course. Did you hear about the movie though? They're making a movie about the original gang when they're teenagers, which is all anybody ever wanted to see.
We didn't want Korra, to be honest.
You could have instead of Korra, you could have done the gang as teenagers dealing with the aftermath of the war. You got a bunch of hate against the Fire Nation.
Zuko has to take over the Fire Nation as a child.
Like you've got a bunch of renegade rebels that are trying to keep the Fire Nation alive. Right. You know, like
the Azula supporters.
Yeah, and let's be real. The Fire Nation was based after World War II Germany. That's just like the Nazis. That's kind of what they were based after. And
you can basically have a Cold War.
When Hitler died, things didn't just go away. There was a lot of stuff that had to be.
Berlin Wall had to fall.
I don't know about all that shit, but there's so much stuff that they could have done instead of like, oh, here's a strong, independent woman that literally masters 3 of the 4 elements as a child. She did.
I know. And it's weird because like, even when things were normal and the Fire Nation had not like attacked yet, Aang was still young. Like they waited to even tell him he was the Avatar until he was 10?
Yeah, and he had to be told because he couldn't just master the elements.
Yeah,
you know. But God forbid a woman can't master everything. I'm sorry.
Calm down.
I'm sorry.
I actually have not read the comics. Are they like? Let us know if they're good because I would like to check them out. The comics cover what you were talking about.
I think Dave wants us to get back on.
All right, guys. We got way off track. Let's return. Let's return
to the MMA world. If you want to keep me past my hour, you gotta give me something I'm passionate about.
All right, so there are 2 things that we have to bring up. 2 headlines in the world of news that nobody really cares about. And one of those is the very quick retirement of Clarissa Shields from MMA after going 2-1 exactly. I definitely want to put this question out to the fans because I feel like the UFC kind of tried to do this with Danielle Wolf, and it did not go well. And the PFL, they're 2 female boxers that they tried to bring over to MMA. And PFL tried to do this with Clarissa Shields. It did not go well. And I want to hear what you guys have to say. Is it because it was boxing? Is it because they tried to put them on a large stage right off the bat and they didn't have the opportunity to look bad in fights on smaller shows, which most of us do have that opportunity when we're starting out as MMA fighters?
I still look bad.
Grant 10 minutes ago was questioning staying 15-20 more minutes, and now he's as pumped as we've ever seen him on Avatar. Best episode ever. We don't need Dave anymore. No, just kidding. But no, I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say, because I like Clarissa Shields obviously fought some very low level, like people with not good records, lost to I think 4-4 girl, and then retired from the sport. Was this the biggest waste of money that PFL could have possibly made? Do you guys think it was just mismanagement? Do you feel like it never should have happened? I feel like we're just going to talk about Avatar for the rest of the show. But I want to know what you guys think. And like, obviously I know Grant thinks that PFL's biggest waste of money was Francis Ngannou.
Right.
But
outside of Jake Paul.
Yeah.
That was the biggest waste of money.
He didn't even fight for them.
He did nothing for them.
He showed up to a press conference.
Here's the issue. I think that PFL has done one good thing for MMA. One. And I don't think anybody's going to agree with me on this, but I think that they proved fighter pay is not the issue. Fighter pay is not the problem. Why can the UFC, and I'm not saying this is what the fans are saying. I'm very happy with my pay in the UFC. Why are they underpaying their fighters? But everybody wants to go to the UFC, right? They have a better promotion. They know how to promote better. They know how to run it like a business. They don't run it like a country. They run it like a business, right? This is not communist Russia. Like, we don't give out things for nothing. Like, you have to earn your spot. And that should have been what the PFL was doing. Every single promotion does something wrong. And look, I hate to complain about something I don't have the answer for, but every single promotion tries to do one thing, and that is steal the UFC's old dogs and not spend time raising their own.
And pay way more than they're worth.
Exactly. Look at all the money Bellator could have saved if they didn't bring 42-year-old Chael Sonnen out of retirement to fight. Look how much money they could have saved if they didn't bring all of these guys. The one good move that they did make was grabbing a contender from the UFC before he was super big. His name, black dude, really, he fought Masvidal. I can't remember his name. He was at 170, really good striker. And he did really good in Bellator, and that was a good move they did. I just think they picked the wrong guy. They picked somebody that wasn't very look at Masvidal's record, because I know he beat Masvidal. I think Masvidal was his last fight in the UFC. And they snagged him, and he did well, but he didn't have the star power. There could have been other guys that they could have grabbed. He lost to Paul Daly. It's way down. Lorenz Larkin.
Oh, yeah.
They grabbed Lorenz Larkin. Paul Daly knocked out Lorenz Larkin.
Yep.
But so that's the guy that they snagged while he was still kind of in his prime. That's what they should have done more of, you know? Or trying to keep like Michael Chandler around a little bit longer.
Aubin Mercier left the UFC on a win streak and did very well in PFL, and they barely promoted him.
Right.
I feel like, and maybe he just didn't promote himself either. I don't know, but I feel like he was somebody that could be. I do want to pull this up. I understand that these were her first 3 professional MMA fights, but my point to this that I'm about to say is this is why your first 3 professional MMA fights should not be in the PFL.
Right.
Because you said she actually did okay for the competition she faced. The competition she faced, these are the records of the 3 girls she fought. The girls she beat were 3-7 and 2-3. And the girl she lost to is 4-4. Those are their current records of all three of those girls.
You're so hot when you throw facts at
It's
people.
it's totally fine for those to be your first 3 professional fights.
Not for $1 million.
But not for an organization that has $1 million tournament.
Well,
that should be.
You know, she was making like $500,000-$600,000 a fight at least.
And there's no way she's bringing that in.
Yeah.
That's
the problem.
No, I don't know. She wouldn't have been interesting to see on the Contender Series. The UFC already did this. They tried to do it with Danielle Wolf. I think she fought Tanisha Tennant or another like okay girl, and it was a terrible. Like she looked terrible.
Right.
And these are supposed to be the best boxers, the best female boxers, and I don't disagree that they are. I think Claressa Shields is a phenomenal boxer. Boxing, I think if you're gonna come up in one combat sport and then transition to MMA, boxing is probably the worst one to do that in.
Yeah.
I don't think it translates well. We see really high level kickboxers come over to MMA and do really well. We see really high level wrestlers come over to MMA and do really well. I don't think. Yeah, and why would she continue doing MMA? Why did she do MMA in the first place? And why did PFL pour so much money into her? I'm with you. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
Look at how much money that PFL could have saved if they didn't do that experiment.
100%.
Look at how much money they could have saved if they didn't do the Jake Paul experiment. Let's just say combined those 2 fighters alone, I think it's way higher. I'm just going to throw a number out just for fun. Let's say it was $1 million. I think it was between the 2 of them.
Probably 10.
Let's say $5 million between the 2 of them they spent for these 2 failed projects.
Right.
You could have used that $5 million instead of these 2 guys. Better lights, better cameras, more advertising time on things other than ESPN, and building your younger fighters.
PFL Origins is what they're doing now. It's a super cheap show to produce, and it's doing awesome on YouTube, and that's exactly what it is. It's promoting their younger fighters.
Boom.
Sorry, didn't mean to
that's fine.
Carry on.
You keep Aaron Pico, and you say, okay, we want Aaron Pico to have 15 knockouts and then fight for our belt. We don't even want to put him in our tournament, which the tournament is stupid anyway. Get rid of that. But we want Aaron Pico to be our guy. We're not going to get rid of him. He's knocking out everybody. Instead of putting, what did we say, $5 million into 2 failed projects just to hope to grab something, you say, okay, Aaron Pico's getting $1 million, on whatever it is. He's going to fight 5 times a year because Aaron Pico wants to fight. And who cares who it's against? You want $200,000 to get knocked out by Aaron Pico? Here you go. Highlight reel knockout. You want $200,000 to get knocked out by Aaron Pico? Highlight reel knockout. All that money you've saved. Now you have all these highlights of Aaron Pico just destroying these guys. And people go, man, I really want to see how he would have done. They didn't do him versus Lofnet. Everybody wanted to see that fight.
No, 100%. But the perfect example of this is Michael Chandler. And the Bellator did not promote Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler promoted Michael Chandler. But he promoted Michael Chandler so well that we wanted to see Michael Chandler in the UFC because we saw him starch people in Bellator. We saw him have an insane fight with Benson Henderson. We saw those highlight clips, and we, the fan base, wanted him in the UFC and didn't get that for a very long time. Yeah. Which made Bellator's product better.
He probably would have been better if he had got signed younger.
Yeah.
But there's got patchy mix like Johnny Eblin. These guys, they have the talent.
They do.
They have 100%. The talent, but they're not. They don't have they're too TikTok brainy. No, I'm serious. They're they're trying to find.
They're trying to go viral.
Yeah, they're trying to go viral and find the next big thing. Like Jake Paul is not the answer. Jake Paul is never the answer. And Jake Paul never will be the answer. Jake Paul is good at one thing, and that's making Jake Paul money.
Yeah. Grant promotes Michael Chandler too.
I do promote Michael Chandler quite a bit, honestly. Honestly, I'm just kind of trying.
All sizzle, no steak. Love that, Dawson. That's spot on. PFL. And I love the staff over at PFL. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be in Nashville in a few weeks. It's so bizarre. We'll hit one more. We got one more headline we didn't touch on. Actually, 2. Oh, I'm sorry. We got off on a rampage, but second point in news nobody cares about is Nate Diaz has revealed his plan to return to the UFC. Let's be honest, guys. Is there actually anyone on the current UFC roster that you want to see Nate Diaz fight? Is there anybody?
I don't want to see Nate Diaz.
I don't want to see Nate Diaz fight.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
I don't think he's coming back either. I think he's
I'll
having
bet,
brain
I'll
rot.
bet.
He tweeted back.
Yeah.
Did you see?
Yeah, I saw
Literally, Nate Diaz tweeted about himself fighting Jorge Masvidal, and the caption was like, this was the moment in the fight where we both wanted to be done, or something like that. And then retweeted at his tweet, calling himself like a pussy or something. Yeah. Like, I don't think anybody wants to see Nate
when they
get any
say,
more CTE.
When they say that marijuana has no damaging effects, I say Nate Diaz. So checkmate.
Checkmate. He has been saying this for years, and I'm sure it's not going to happen. I just think it's funny that it's
I don't understand why
out there
fans.
Again.
I don't understand how he has fans. That's my thing.
It doesn't make sense to me.
You don't like guys that I just don't understand how he has fans. Like he's terrible.
Nate versus a hall of mirrors. Yeah, like nobody's hopped in the comment section and been like, "Oh, I'd love to see Nate versus X," because
he's also probably back to the John Jones thing where it's like post-COVID, a lot of guys don't really know who Nate Diaz is.
That's honestly
fair.
The
younger generation don't know who Nate Diaz is,
and most of them maybe they saw Jorge beat the piss out of Nate, and that was the only memory they have of him. You know,
dude, we're getting to the point where people aren't going to know who George is.
Yeah,
this game moves so fast. So fast. When was the last time you heard somebody talk about BJ Penn?
Right.
Nobody talks about BJ Penn. He was one of the greatest of all time. He helped build the sport. He really did. Whether you like him or not, he was a pioneer of the sport. A lot of great wins.
And like
people
he's
forget
usually
about
not
Frankie
even in
Edgar.
the conversation.
No.
BJ's usually not in the conversation when you talk about
Same with Frankie
Mount
Edgar.
Rushmore's.
Same with Frankie Edgar. He's never in the conversation. Same with even okay.
People already forgot about Alex.
Perfect example here is Volkanovski.
Yeah.
He just won the belt back, and people aren't really that excited about it.
I'm not even, and I hate that I'm not, because I like him.
Well,
I like him as a champ.
It's because we know that he's not the real champ. And I hate to say that because he who has the gold rules. That is the golden rule. So he is the champ.
That's not what our Bible says.
Listen, if Ilya Topuria got shot in the head, that would mean that the best 45er on planet Earth is Volk. If Ilya Topuria proves that he cannot make weight again, then it's Volk. It's just.
But I don't think that's the case, you know?
I don't think so either. I think that if he loses, he'll go back down. And a large part of me hopes he loses, so he goes back down.
This is actually a really great question, and it brings up a really good point. Is Izzy Boy? Who's the biggest star in the UFC currently? And I don't know that they have one besides Grant Dawson. No, I don't know that they have one, and I think that's why they are letting John Jones dictate so much of what they do right now, because he is their last superstar.
I think the craziest thing is every superstar other than John Jones doesn't have a belt. Sean O'Malley, superstar, doesn't have a belt. Ilya Topuria, superstar, doesn't have a belt. Now that's probably
Izzy
going
was
to change.
A superstar.
Izzy is a superstar. Still is a superstar. Doesn't have a belt. All of these guys that you're like, dude, that guy's Kamaru Usman was a superstar. Doesn't have a belt. It's insane. And I in a way like this. I like the fact that it's not about being popular. It's about being good to be champion. But if you want to move the needle, you got to be famous and a superstar. And they're just not champs right now.
Yeah.
They're focused more on their Instagram following than they are on their Paddy Pimblett. Superstar.
Doesn't have a belt.
And he may fight for the belt. He may win the belt.
This is an answer to this question, Choi. Dakota Ditcheva is probably the next big superstar for the UFC. It's not going to happen till the end of the year when your PFL contract expires. Kayla, actually, not a champ yet. Yeah, 14, will be soon.
14 days, but not a champ.
You know, like, and I think Kayla can fill that role for a little bit, but I think you can't just have a female superstar. I really think you need both. And Johns is losing a lot of his superstardom because the fans aren't happy with him. You know, Khamzat can be a superstar too. I agree.
Not a champ.
He's not a champ yet. So it's like there aren't any. You're right. Like there aren't any.
Bo Nickel, not a champ.
Not a champ, but a star. And I think Dakota can fill a hole that is in the UFC right now. Especially if you look at Valentina, like she was a superstar. And nobody is really that excited to see her fight now. I'm not even excited to watch her fight Wei Li. When was the last time we weren't excited about a fighter going up to try and get another belt? I don't really want to see that fight. I feel like I know what's going to happen, and it's not going to be an exciting fight.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think Dakota is the opportunity for that division to have a star again.
You kind of run into a weird Sophie's choice situation here where it's like it's hard. Do you want a competitive weight class with no superstars like welterweight, or do you want a superstar with no contenders like heavyweight? Right?
Yeah.
Or let's say like
I'm sorry, Dan.
Well, who's the girl you're just talking about? Shevchenko. Shevchenko is a superstar, but nobody really cares about anybody she's going to fight. But then you go to welterweight, and you're like, dude, this guy is so good. None of them are like superstars, but they're all such good fighters. That belt is changing hands every 2 to 3 defenses. I promise.
No, 100%.
I promise in at least welterweight, the days of GSP running through his division are over at welterweight and at lightweight, myself included. I win that belt, I'm not defending it at lightweight 15 times.
No.
There's no way.
Everybody's too good.
Everybody's too good. You're not going to catch me on a bad night. Bobby Green caught me on a bad night. You don't think that these guys can catch you on a bad night? And that's what we're running into with welterweight and lightweight. It's just so many good fights. I promise you guys. And featherweight too. I promise you guys, whoever wins the lightweight belt next will not have it in 2 fights. I guarantee it. Yeah. I'll bet anybody. Whoever wins the belt, 2 fights will not have that belt anymore.
No, I don't disagree.
Maybe even 1.
It very well may be. I don't know if I agree with this, Shot of God. I think Khamzat can make this fight very competitive. I don't know that he beat Streakus.
Yeah, I'm on Streakus' side.
I think it might be. I think he can. He's just Khamzat is one of those people that I feel like every time he fights, I feel like we still haven't seen enough of him to know. Even like he just destroyed Robert Whittaker's face, and I still feel like we don't know a lot about him. Like, it's how much we bet in Grant.
What's the bet?
About the lightweight belt changing hands
in 2 fights after this one.
Yeah,
and 10 push-ups.
10 push-ups.
I'm a little strapped for cash right now.
Grant needs a fight, guys.
Yeah,
we can't be gambling away our life savings here. For the belt in his hands every month. Like, yeah, are we in the dark ages of the UFC? Maybe.
And it's, we're in the dark ages of the UFC, and it's still good.
It's
still good.
It's still better. Like, the quality of the sport is still better than it was 20 years ago.
All they have to do to fix this is cut heavyweight and most of the women, and we're right back into the golden ages. And all the Russians. And we're back we're back, baby. We're good, Cut heavyweight. You want to cut 205 and keep Alex? I'm cool with that too. Like,
who does he fight? He just shows up.
Let's just have him fight Khalil Roundtree
over and over.
To back.
I would watch that fight at least 10 times before I got tired.
I would watch it 11.
Is Armand still training at ATT? Probably.
I mean, yeah, he trains at it. He's not at
Yeah, he's not here right
now. Because he doesn't have a fight. But once he gets a fight, I'm sure he'll come back and ask to drop me on my head again. He had some very nice words to say about me. Yeah.
Nice.
Me and Armand are cool.
He's a nice guy.
Talked a bunch of shit on me in interviews, but in person he was super cool. It's hard for me not to be nice to people that are nice to me.
On the superstar conversation, I feel like Terrence McKinney is a guy who could be a superstar. He just has got to win more fights.
I just like how you say McKinney.
I said
like
McKinney.
Like Cartman says Kenny.
McKinney. Terrence McKinney. This fight's gonna be bonkers.
Yeah, this fight's gonna be crazy. Dude, sorry, you're my loving wife. You know what fight nobody talks about is Borishev versus who's the guy? Sajikov.
Amazing fight.
Great fight. Went to a draw. I hate draws. I disagree with draws. And that fight, I agree, was a draw. Crazy fight.
We don't need the oil money. We're good. The UFC makes enough.
Right? No kidding.
we don't need oil money.
Yeah.
Keep your Russians, your Dagestanis.
Here's the other thing that needs to happen is Contender Series needs to become its own show. They need to stop signing people.
He said, how excited are you? It's like, I don't want to see it unless it becomes its own show. I love watching it.
I just don't want to see another 58 guys get signed.
When we can't even get a fight.
Some of them losing the fight, and your boy can't get a fight here.
Yeah.
You know, I saw the MMA guru talking about, you know, this is not me. This is what he was saying. He was like, some of these fighters are complaining about fighter pay and then only fighting once a year. I'm not one of those guys. I would rather get paid less and fight more. I'm 31 years old. Statistically, I've got 5 years left to win this belt. So my next 5 years are worship, training, and recovering. So it's like, give me fights.
And I highly doubt the fighters who are complaining about their money are choosing to fight once a year. They're probably in the same boat.
Well, they're probably complaining about, like, it's just statistically, it's shown that if you make more money, you fight less.
Because that way they have to pay you less. Like,
well, no, I don't even think I think that they don't need the money.
That's fair.
So they don't want to go through a fight camp. Dude, I love this. I want to fight every weekend. I will take a pay cut to fight more. I really would. In the UFC. I want to fight in the UFC. I only want to fight the best guys. But
don't show that to Sean.
You're telling me he guarantees me 3 fights a year for what we're making now instead of a bump? I'll take that.
That'd be cool.
I'll take that.
That'd be cool. This is not the solution, Sean. This does not solve the problem at all. The Ultimate Fighter results in 1 or 2 guys getting signed.
Honestly,
the Ultimate Fighter,
more of the
do the opposite. Drop Dana White's Contender Series and do 2 Ultimate. I prefer the structure of Dana White's Contender Series, but at least with the Ultimate Fighter, they don't sign everybody.
Guys. Stop signing guys. Stop signing guys on the Contender Series. Just make it its own show.
The managers should have to fight once a year.
On Contender Series.
There's like one.
Bro, Jason's winning that.
Dude, Jason's a legit
He's a
black belt.
He's winning that.
I take Jason over Ali. Ali's kind of big.
I don't know. I think he's actually a black belt too.
He looks like
he looks
like he's in good shape.
If I remember correct. Oh, he turns with Khabib a lot.
No, and I agree. I like Dana White's Contender Series better than the Ultimate Fighter. I think viewership is better. The issue is they sign too many guys off Dana White's Contender Series. The Ultimate Fighter, the winner gets signed, and usually 1 or 2 guys get signed for short notice replacement fights. But like, not everybody's getting a contract. Lately on Contender Series, it's just there's too many guys getting signed. It should be year round. Pay these guys $5,000, 5 and 5. Let them fight, gain experience, so you're not getting into the UFC at 4-1, 5-0.
Here, I'm gonna lay out a perfect world, Fred, and take your phones out, write this down, get this going. The perfect MMA world. You have Monday night UFC in the Apex, real card, smaller show.
Like maybe 5 or 6 fights.
No, you do your full card, but it's like you have a woman as the main event. Nobody wants to see that anyway, so it's like you have the smaller show on Monday. Then you have Tuesday Contender Series year round. Then you have the Ultimate Fighter, not year round, but every year the Ultimate Fighter on Wednesdays, and then you have a pay-per-view main event super card on Saturdays. That is every UFC fan's wet dream right there.
No, 100%. Yes, a UFC rookie league. Like just like Major League Baseball teams have AA teams that they can pull from. I don't remember. I don't know watch baseball, guys, but I know this exists. They have small teams that they can pull guys from when they need them, and they are training them up to be ready for the major leagues. The UFC is not doing that, and MMA outside the UFC is dying.
Yeah.
But this is the issue: is it can't just be LFA. Because LFA cannot support all of regional MMA.
Right.
And it's clear because people are having trouble finding fights.
Right.
And if you can't fight on a show like LFA, then you can't garner experience and you can't become good enough to bring a quality product to the UFC. And I think that's why we're seeing the women's divisions dropping in quality drastically. Right. And that's why so many women are getting cut. And people are not enjoying watching female MMA as much as they were when we were watching Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Jessica Andrade fight, or Joanna and Claudia. Like, we're just not.
Basically
we
just
don't
Joanna.
have the same. Joanna carry.
Here's the other thing too: is you take a guy like Bo Nickel, right? You keep him on the Contender Series, and just an extra year. He fights 3-4 times a year. Now people can fall. It's like we were talking about with the WWE. They fall in love with the story and the characters, not just the fights. So now it's like, dude, we've been watching Bo Nickel reach 10-0. You know, he started at 2-0. Now he's 10-0 on the Contender Series, and now he's coming into the UFC, and we're going to really get to see how he does against high-level competition, you know?
Yeah, and bringing Road to UFC is still not done correctly because it's exactly the same problem as Dana White's Contender Series and Ultimate Fighter. The Road to UFC, you get a few fights on essentially the tournament, but then you're still getting into the UFC without a ton of experience. A handful of those guys have come in with what I would consider enough fights for the UFC, but a lot of them are still coming in, just like the Contender Series guys, with only 4 or 5 professional fights. And it's just, look at the Jubilee guy. He is very clearly not ready for UFC level fights. Like,
did you do the lost to Mike?
Yeah. Lost to Breeden and then got knocked out by the guys from the Contender Series.
Yeah.
Like, he's not ready. And they went to his small community to do the tournament, and he didn't fight high enough level guys to prepare himself for the UFC.
To be fair, the only way that guy's going to get ready is if he moves to America and trains at a real gym. Like,
that's fair.
You know how we were talking about Leon Edwards is probably the best guy in his gym? That dude was probably the best guy in his country.
But you should find that out before you get into the UFC. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but how
with a year-round Contender Series, you bring that guy in and he loses to a 5-1 American. It's like, okay, he now knows he has to change something.
Yeah.
If he wants to compete, and now he's signed a Contender Series for 4 fights, so he has an opportunity to change something. Now he's 0-2 in the UFC, and he's probably out of job, and he might never get re-signed.
Yeah. You also have a chance to keep guys on retain. Like let's say Sean O'Malley, you get another Sean O'Malley, right? But he's only got 3 fights, and you're like, dude, this guy's special. I know he's special. I don't want to lose him to another promotion, but I know that if I sign him right now, he's just not going to do well. Instead of saying either, okay, we sign him, hope he does well, or saying, go away, kid, come back next year, we'll get you back on. You say, okay, let's see how he does 2-3 fights. Let's see how he does. Because they've done that before where they're like, you know what, we're going to give him another fight at the end of this season. So now he's got to turn around, make weight again, and like we're going to see how he does. You can give him a month, 2 months. Let him chill out. Let him get a little bit better. Let him heal. Yeah. Now you get him 2-3 fights throughout the year. Now he's 5-0. He's starting.
There's only 8 weeks, right? So let's say you fight on week 2, and they're like, "Oh, we'll get you another one," but you only have like 2 weeks to heal, and you have 4-week camp. Like it's not the right structure. I agree. I think the UFC needs to be responsible for. They need to step up and be responsible for building young talent, because right now it really is fizzling. And I think we're not seeing it yet in the UFC, but we're going to over the next like 5 to 10 years. There is not going to be as much young talent ready to move into the UFC as there is right now. I think it's going to be an issue. But yeah, guys, we've been going way longer than we thought we would. I was going to do Banana Blitz, but Dave really wanted to do it with us anyway. So we will do Banana Blitz for this coming weekend, maybe Thursday, Friday. You'll see it. We'll post it.
Sneak peek. Mataush Gamrot, Mataush Gamrot, Mataush Gamrot, Mataush Gamrot.
That is going to be every one of Grant's picks.
This is the main event. Everybody knows it. This is the people's main event. Give these guys 5 rounds. We
will check out the Avatar: The Last Airbender comics.
I won't. I'm dyslexic.
I will read them to Grant. They're pictures. They're comic books. I'll read them to you. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in for our power hour and 39 minutes that it became. But we love you. We will be back to our normal scheduled programming Sunday with the Sunday Morning Brew with me and Jillian. And we will have Banana Blitz for you Thursday, Friday, something like that. We are going to do Banana Blitz for you maybe. Oh, shoot. We will not
be back to our schedule.
We will not have the morning brew this Sunday. Shoot.
She lied.
We will be back to normal next Tuesday. Sorry, we're all over the place.
Is that a lie too?
No.
What else have you lied about? Is your name really Elle?
All right, guys. We love you. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you.
Her name's not actually Elle.
Later. That is actually true.